All right, and welcome back, everybody. So, unfortunately, I seem to have misplaced a whole bunch of recordings. That, or I accidentally deleted them, or something. I'm not sure where the files went. But the file jumps about 7 numbers from the previous video to the start of this one on my memory card. So, somehow I lost 7 15-minute files. So this is significantly jumped ahead from where I last left off in my previous video. I think in the previous video I had just finished attaching the stiffeners and was getting ready to start attaching the brackets to the forward end of the stiffeners. Those are put in place with blind rivets, if I recall correctly. So now I have gone through the pain of putting the skins together, and in the process of now riveting everything. And right now I'm working on installing blind rivets into the bottom rib of the rudder. And so what it has you do, and this is actually one of the places I messed up, I put the rudder horn brace on first before I put these blind rivets in. And unfortunately, there's about 4 or 5 blind rivet holes that you can't get access to with the brace in place. So eventually you'll see me kind of staring at the rudder horn area trying to figure out how to do something. Well, that's what I finally realized. And there's my little boy, Adam. He's 5 years old. He's keenly interested in what I'm doing out in the garage, so he likes to come out and hang with me every once in a while. So anyway, I'm in the process of attaching the skins to the skeleton, working my way up the spar of the rudder, and I was hoping I'd be able to use my squeezer the entire way up, but unfortunately the skin that is folded around the forward end of the rudder is just too long. I couldn't get access with my squeezer, so I end up doing the first couple with the squeezer, and then from there I have to go to the bucking bar and the rivet gun, which I would rather use the squeezer. It's a whole heck of a lot easier when I'm operating it correctly. So here I start to rivet things in place, and what you'll end up doing is obviously on both sides you'll rivet up the each side of the spar, and then rivet the bottom rib together, and the top, the counterbalance in the top rib. Now another area that I had issue with was the forward end of the counterbalance where the skins overlap. It was giving me troubles, and I think I accidentally drilled an extra hole that didn't need to be drilled, but it just adds strength, I guess. So I think that there's 5 places where you're supposed to drill, match drill, and rivet, and I think I made a 6th, so there's 3 up each side, the left and right on the forward end there where the skins overlap. Anyway, when I was trying to rivet some of the skins, somehow I had messed it up, and I think in the process of trying to drill out the rivets, I kind of creased the skins a little bit. As far as I indented them a little bit, and so made for kind of an ugly forward end. So I think that I've tried to kind of clean that up, but it's one of the things you got to be careful of, especially with that area. There's not a whole lot of support behind it. So anyway, here you see me attaching the rudder spar to those L brackets that hold the stiffeners. You use blind rivets going up the entire length of the rudder spar, and you just make sure it's lined up. And again, I think one of the issues that I had when I was assembling the skins, and I think I voiced this in an earlier video, is that when I lined up the stiffeners, I didn't line them up correctly as far as The stiffeners are supposed to go, I believe it's the left skin stiffener is supposed to sit on top of the right skin stiffener at the trailing edge. And then at the leading edge, the stiffeners, I believe, are supposed to go underneath the brackets. And I think I had initially put them above, and so it wasn't lining up right. So I went back and had to undo some blind rivets that I had installed and kind of force the stiffeners into the correct position on the forward end underneath the brackets. I forget if it's under or over. I believe they're supposed to be under, and I placed them over. But anyway, so got everything corrected, and then got to this point. Now I'm attaching the spar to the stiffener brackets to hold everything together. And then once I get through here, then I'll start riveting the spar itself to the skins and getting everything in place. Excuse me. And then in a future video, I'll show the effort that I went through to try to fold the skins over, and I'll talk more in depth on it, but that in itself was a struggle. There's a template that shows how the forward end is supposed to be rolled in the shape that it's supposed to have. It's not just a circular circumference type forward end. It's actually comes out and then has a sharp bend toward the end and almost flat on the forward end of it. And so I'm gonna have to try to play with that a little bit and get it to the shape that it's supposed to have. It's not easy, and I'll have to figure out a better way to do it. I had, and you'll see it in the video when I get it put together. But I purchased a metal handled broom and match drilled holes with the skin, and tried using that with some leverage, using a wrench at the end of it to try to get some leverage on it. And it's a pain in the butt. So at some point I'll get that cleaned up, I think. So I fast forward a little bit here to get through some of the riveting. There's some rivets there you have to be careful of, especially around the hinge brackets, the rudder hinge brackets, where the bucking bar is difficult to get into completely. So you just have to kind of work through it and try to get it as best you can. Obviously, looking at the rivets, and you want to look at the machine head, I think it's called, the side that the bucking bar works on, and make sure it's a good rivet. But there's some that it's just because of the rivets that hold the bracket on are kind of in the way. So you just kind of have to finagle through that. And the best thing is to try to find a thin bucking bar. I think at one point I'd even used my back riveting plate as a bucking bar, just because it's so thin compared to the rest of my bucking bars. So yeah, the rest of this video is going to be essentially getting the rest of these rivets on this side, and then obviously I'll have to turn the rudder over and rivet the other side. So from here, it's almost complete. I think the only thing I have left after this point is working on the trailing edge and actually replacing the wedge that's in there in this video. As I've spoken to earlier, I had to replace the double-sided tape, and that'll be in a next video or two. So anyway, I'm going to let this video run out here, and like I've said before, I appreciate everybody that follows my videos, and I hope that these are in some way helpful in any decision you may make regarding building a Van's aircraft kit. They're great kits. I'm enjoying this immensely so far, and I'm actually, I think that I'm on a faster pace than I had initially thought of. I've initially kind of budgeted a year to work this, but at the pace I'm going, I may be done within 6 or 7 months. I'm fortunate in my job that I have a lot of built-in time off, working a rotating shift work, so there are lots of periods of days that I have off in a row, so I'm able to put a lot of work in at a time. But as I say, the best way to get this completed is to work on it, even just 10 or 15 minutes a day, whatever you have available. Just get out and work on it a little bit at a day, at a time, and project goes by so much better that way. So, anyway, like I said, I'll leave this to run out here, and I'll see you all in the next video.